The docking bay of Orion Gate Station was never quiet. Ships from every corner of the galaxy came and went, freighters carrying or sleek diplomatic vessels, slow-moving refugee barges. But Captain Raylan Voss wasn't paying attention to any of that. He had just completed a month-long cargo run, hauling rare minerals from the asteroid fields of Vega, and all he wanted was a hot drink and 12 hours of sleep. He walked down the ramp of his small freighter, stretching his back. When the crowd around the bay seemed to shift, conversations went quiet. A space opened up in the busy walkway as a single figure approached. The alien towered over the crowd, 7 feet of muscle wrapped in dark scarred armor. Its skin was like obsidian stone, its eyes glowing faint gold. Raylan knew that face. From countless warning bulletins, this was General Korthal of the Zarth Dominion, a warlord feared across 12 star systems. Stories claimed he had crushed an entire rebellion with his bare hands. Raylan instinctively reached for the sidearm on his hip, but the warlord didn't raise a weapon. Instead, Korthal carried something. Strange, it was a cradle. Not metal, not plastic, but something that looked grown, like living coral shaped into a perfect oval. Inside, swaddled in shimmering fabric, was a small alien infant. Its tiny chest rose and fell with slow breaths. Raylan's mind froze. The Zarth were famous for one thing. Their young were sacred. No outsider was ever allowed to see them, much less touch them. Violating that law was punishable by a death that would make most executions look merciful. Yet here, Korthal stood, right in front of him, holding out the cradle. Human, the warlord's voice rumbled like a distant storm. You will take this child to your world. You will keep it safe. Raylan blinked. I think you've got the wrong guy. I have the right one. The alien's golden eyes narrowed. Do not refuse. A dozen questions fought for space in Raylan's mind. Why him? Why Earth? Why would a species that distrusted everyone suddenly trust a random human freighter pilot with their most precious life? But before he could speak again, Korthal placed the cradle in his arms. The thing was lighter than it looked, but the weight of the responsibility nearly crushed him. Without another word, the warlord turned and walked away, vanishing into the crowd like a shadow melting into the dark. Raylan stood there, stunned. Around him, alien traders and station guards stared, some whispering in shock. He didn't know what to do, but his instincts told him to get moving. He carried the cradle up the ramp to his freighter and set it gently in the passenger cabin. His hands were trembling. He transported dangerous cargo before weapons, illegal AI cores, even black market medical tech. But this felt different. This wasn't a thing. This was a life. Minutes later, the station's control tower gave him clearance to depart, as his ship, the Wayfarer, drifted away from the docking arms. Raylan caught sight of 3 other vessels leaving at the same time. He didn't think much of it, until his navigation sensors flagged them as unknown registry and shadowing his course. By the time they passed the outer sensor net of Orion Gate, his stomach had tightened into a knot. He wasn't a fool 3 ships leaving right after him. Keeping the same distance wasn't coincidence. He angled his comms dish toward them and sent a wideband hail. No response. Then his console beeped incoming transmission on a private channel. A distorted voice filled the cockpit. Human, do not open that cradle. You will not survive what's inside. Raylan froze. The voice was calm, but there was something predatory about it, like the speaker was savoring each word. He tried to reply, but the signal cut off instantly. He checked the baby through the small, transparent shell in the cradle. The infant was still asleep, breathing peacefully. No strange movements, no signs of danger, but his hands were sweating now. For the next few hours, he flew on silent mode, hoping to shake the tail. It didn't work. The 3 ships stayed with him, never closing the gap, never falling back. They were waiting for something, hunting him. By the time he reached the dark edge of the Orpheus Drift, a region of space notorious for its gravitational storms, his nerves were stretched, thin. He thought about contacting Earth's defense network, but that would take hours and might draw even more attention. He thought about turning around, returning the cradle to Korthal, but something deep in his gut told him that was no longer an option. He looked at the sleeping alien child again. Its tiny hands twitched slightly as if dreaming. The fabric around it shimmered faintly in the dim cabin light. Then just for a moment, its eyelids flickered open. Raylan sucked in a breath. The infant's eyes were not gold like Corthal S. They were pure white, glowing softly, with no pupils at all. And in that instant, Raylan heard something not through his ears, but deep in his mind. A whisper, ancient and heavy, like the echo of a voice that had spoken for 1,000 years. It said nothing in words. It was just presence, vast, endless, aware. It was looking at him. Raylan stumbled back, almost dropping the cradle. The infant's eyes closed again, and the feeling vanished as if it had never been there. Alarms blared on the console. The 3 ships had just accelerated fast. They were coming straight for him now. Raylan threw the Wayfarer into a sharp dive toward the Orpheus Drift. He didn't know what was in that cradle, or why some of the galaxy's most dangerous beings wanted it. All he knew was that whatever trust Corthale had placed in him, it had just painted a target on his back, bigger than any bounty. And from the way those ships were moving, they weren't planning to take him alive. Raylan gripped the controls as the Wayfarer plunged toward the swirling chaos of the Orpheus Drift. The view ahead looked like a nightmare made of light and shadow, massive gravitational currents bending starlight into twisted ribbons, invisible eddies that could tear a ship apart in seconds. No sane pilot entered this place without weeks of preparation. Raylan had about 3 seconds. Behind him, the 3 unknown ships kept closing. His scanners finally got a partial reading sleek. Black hulls, no transponder codes, running cold. To avoid detection, whoever they were built for one thing: pursuit. The ship shuddered as it hit the outer arches of the drift. Warning lights flared on every panel. Artificial gravity wavered. The inertial dampener screamed under the sudden shifts. Raylan fought to keep the nose level while the stars outside bent and warped, stretching like liquid metal. It felt like flying through the inside of a black hole's dream. He risked a glance at the cradle. The alien child still slept, unharmed by the chaos. That faint shimmer in its fabric seemed to pulse, almost in rhythm with the shifting gravitational waves outside. The first blast hit his rear. Shields. The entire ship jolted. Raylan cursed under his breath. The pursuers weren't firing to disable. They were firing to kill. His shields would last maybe for more hits. "All right, kid," he muttered. "Let's see what you're worth dying for." Another hit. Then another. The ship's computer screamed, warning, "Shields at 20%. Raylan made a split second decision. He cut all power except for life support and thrusters, plunging the ship into darkness. To any sensors, the Wayfarer would now look like just another drifting piece of wreckage caught in the drift's pull. He guided it into the shadow of a massive rock fragment, a chunk of some long-dead moon, and waited. The 3 ships slowed, scanning. One passed directly above his hiding place. Raylan held his breath. He could feel his pulse in his teeth. A long minute crawled by before they moved on. Disappearing deeper into the drift, he exhaled slowly, but the relief didn't last. Because the moment they were gone, he heard it again, that same voice, not in his ears, but in his mind. "They will not stop." Raylan froze. Who said that? "Do not fear me, human." He looked down at the cradle.
Oh.
The infant's eyes were open, again, glowing pure white. The voice was gentle, but it filled his mind completely, leaving no room for his own thoughts. "You were chosen because you do not know the truth yet. That keeps you safe." For now, Raylan swallowed hard. The truth. About what? About why we are hunted. About what we are. About what I will become. A chill ran through him. The glow in the child's eyes softened. "You will take me to Earth, they will follow. Many will die. But if you succeed, your kind will not be forgotten." The connection broke suddenly, and the child's eyes closed once more. Raylan sat therein, the half-dark, his mind spinning. What did that mean? What could possibly make a galactic warlord trust a human stranger over his own people? He didn't get time to think. Scanners lit up again. The 3 pursuers had looped back. They were closing fast, And now they were joined by two more ships. Raylan slammed power back on. The Wayfarer roared to life. If he stayed here, he'd be boxed in and shredded. His only chance was straight through the most dangerous part of the drift. "Hang on, kid," he said, gripping the throttle. "We're doing this the hard way." The ship shot forward into the blinding light storm, metal groaning under the stress. Gravity waves slammed into the hull like tidal waves, threatening to tear it apart. Warning klaxons blared, but Raylan kept going, dodging invisible currents by instinct more than skill. Behind him, the hunters followed, some falling back, others gaining. Then the drift opened up ahead into a sudden calm, a pocket of empty space. In its center floated something massive. Raylan's jaw dropped. It wasn't a planet. It wasn't a station. It was a living creature. It's the size of a small moon. Its translucent skin glowed faintly blue, covered in pulsing veins of light. Tendrils drifted around it like the arms of a sleeping giant. The cradles shimmered. Brighter, the child stirred, and Raylan had the terrible feeling that whatever this thing was, it was here for them. Raylan's first instinct was to turn and run. No star chart had ever marked this thing's existence. No pilot's log had mentioned it. Yet here it floated in the calm heart of the most dangerous space in the sector, like it had been waiting for centuries. The massive creature's translucent body shifted, and the faint glow running through its veins pulsed in slow rhythm. Its tendrils, each hundreds of meters long, drifted lazily, but carried the subtle precision of something alive and aware. The child in the cradle opened its eyes again. The white glow was stronger now, and for a moment Raylan felt that same pressure. In his mind, "Go forward," the voice whispered. "It will open the way." "Open the way to what?" Raylan muttered aloud. "And what is it?" But there was no answer, only the steady pull of the drift's strange calm. As if the entire pocket of space was guiding him toward the creature. Behind him, the 5 pursuing ships broke through the storm. Raylan could see their black hulls, now sharp and predatory, closing in like a pack of wolves. They weren't firing yet. They didn't need to. He was boxed in, and they knew it. The creature's tendrils began to move. Slowly at first, then with deliberate purpose. 2 of them reached toward the Wayfarer. Raylan's fingers hovered over the thruster controls. Every instinct screamed to evade, but the child's voice returned, calm yet firm. "Do not move." "Knows me." The tendrils stopped just short of the hull, hovering inches away. The glow from the creature's veins intensified, matching the light from the cradle. Raylan's instruments went wild, sensors flashing with impossible readings. Radiation spikes that should have fried them all instantly, yet somehow caused no harm. Then, without warning, a section of the creature's body rippled and folded inward, revealing a tunnel of glowing light. It wasn't made of flesh. Not exactly. It looked more like space itself had been peeled open. Raylan's jaw tightened.
You want me to fly into that thing?"
"It is the only way," the child answered. The pursuing ships had stopped. They hovered just beyond the comm zone, keeping their distance from the creature. It was clear they feared it, but feared losing the child even more. Raylan realized something else. They weren't chasing him. They were chasing whatever the child was meant to become. He didn't wait any longer. The Wayfarer eased forward, into the tunnel. The walls around him shimmered with a strange energy, shapes and colors twisting like fragments of different worlds. For a second, he thought he saw forests, oceans, and entire cities inside the glow. Like this thing contained pieces of other planets within it. Then the tunnel collapsed behind him. Cutting off any view of the drift, the ship was now inside the creature. The space within was impossibly vast, a hidden world of floating platforms, glowing rivers of energy, and immense crystal structures suspended in the air.
"Oh!"
Raylan couldn't tell if it was alive or some kind of ancient technology. Maybe both. The cradle's shimmer grew until it bathed the cockpit in pure white light. Raylan shielded his eyes. When he looked again, the child was no longer lying down. It was floating, and it was changing. The small, fragile form stretched and elongated, glowing veins forming under its skin. Its eyes became brighter, and faint lines of silver etched themselves across its face like ancient symbols. It didn't look like a helpless infant anymore. It looked like something that could command star systems. Raylan felt the pressure in his mind again, stronger than ever. This is my birthright. I cannot claim it without you. He wanted to ask why, but before he could speak, the tunnel they had entered began to tremble. A deep, resonant sound echoed through the chamber. Not mechanical, not organic, but something. In between, the creature was speaking, not to Raylan, not to the child, to someone else. Raylan turned in his seat and froze. On the largest crystal platform ahead stood figures. Tall, armored, alien, yet in their arms each one carried something small, fragile, and human. The Wayfarer tore through the black gulf of space, her hull groaning under the strain of a jump drive pushed far beyond its limits. Outside, stars stretched into streaks of light before snapping back into pinpricks. Inside, Raylan's knuckles were white on the controls. He'd flown dangerous routes before, but never like this. This wasn't a race against time. This was a race against extinction. The child sat strapped in the co-pilot seat. Its glow dim but steady, eyes fixed on the swirling void outside. They are close, the voice in his mind murmured. They will not stop until I am gone. Raylan adjusted. Course toward the ragged edge of the galactic map, where sensor readings turned to static. Few ships ventured there, and fewer came back. Rumors spoke of ancient ruins older than the galaxy itself, hidden in pockets of warped space. He checked the long-range scanners. His stomach dropped. A needle-like shadow was moving in perfect silence across the void, matching their every jump. The hunter. A cold shiver slid down Raylan's spine. They're tracking us through hyperspace. The child's glow flickered. Not tracking, feeling. They are bound to the catalyst, like a predator to the scent of blood. Raylan swore under his breath. He pushed the drive harder, the Wayfarer rattling in protest. Ahead, a thin ripple of distorted light shimmered across the starfield. The boundary rift, a tear in space, where known physics simply gave up. Ships that entered didn't come out. Perfect. Double quotes, hold on, Raylan muttered, gripping the controls. The hunter's voice bled into the cabin, no longer filtered through. Comes. But echoing inside his head. Run as far as you want, human. There is no end to the dark. Raylan ignored it, teeth clenched. The Wayfarer plunged into the rift. Reality stretched like molten glass, twisting stars into spirals. Space itself seemed to bend around them, folding and unfolding in impossible ways. Behind them, the hunter followed. Raylan's vision swam. The controls felt heavy, his limbs sluggish. They're trying to pull us back, the child whispered, its small hand gripping his arm. I can help, but it will hurt you. Do it, Raylan said, without hesitation. The child's glow flared blindingly. Bright pain stabbed through Raylan's skull, a white-hot surge that burned every nerve. The Wayfarer jolted forward, breaking through a wall of invisible pressure. They burst out into something. The stars here were wrong, stretched and faint, hanging over a field of colossal shapes drifting in the void. Massive rings, shattered spires, and stone-like structures the size of moons floated silently. Each one carved with alien markings that pulsed faintly in the dark. The scanners went dead. The rift had thrown them beyond the edge of mapped space. The hunter emerged seconds later, its needle-like vessel gliding into the ruins, but here, something was different. The black ship slowed. The silver-eyed figure appeared once more, but this time its gaze shifted from Raylan to the monolithic structures around them. This place, the hunter murmured, almost to itself, it should not exist. The alien symbols on the nearest spire flared brighter, casting shadows across the hunter's face. The child looked up at Raylan. This is my home. Raylan felt a sudden weight lift from the air. Not safety, but something heavier. Like they had crossed into territory where even predators tread lightly. The hunter's silver eyes narrowed. Another. Time, human. Another time. Without another word, the black ship turned and slipped back into the rift. vanishing into the folds of space. Raylan's shoulders sagged. He looked at the glowing child, still clutching the armrest. Guess we bought ourselves a little time. Time is enough, the voice replied. Calm now. We are where the hunters cannot touch us. Raylan stared out at the impossible ruins drifting in the eternal dark, his mind already buzzing with questions. For the first time since this started, he let himself breathe. Somewhere out there, the hunter would be waiting. But here at the edge of the galaxy, they had found something even more dangerous, and Raylan intended to learn exactly what it was. Raylan's hands tightened on the controls, though the Wayfarer seemed to be flying itself now, guided deeper into the glowing chamber. The towering alien figures stood like statues, each one clad in armor that looked grown rather than forged, its surface rippling faintly as if alive. But Raylan's eyes were fixed on. They carried children. Human children. Every one of them looked no older than 5. Wrapped in strange cloth and humming faintly with the same white glow as the child he'd been given. Some were awake, staring up at their alien guardians with unblinking eyes. Others slept, their small chests rising and falling slowly. Raylan's mind spun. How? How are they here? How long have they been here? The nearest alien stepped forward. It was nearly twice Raylan's height, its body a mix of sinew and metallic sheen, its face hidden behind a mask of black glass. When it spoke, the sound wasn't through the air. It resonated directly in Raylan's head. Deep and ancient, you bring the last seed. Raylan swallowed hard. The last what? The alien tilted its head slightly, then looked at the child floating beside Raylan. The white glow from the child pulsed once, and all the other children in the chamber stirred, as if responding to it. The alien continued. When the old stars die, only one species can keep life alive. That species is yours. Raylan frowned. Humans. We can't even keep our own planet in order. Another alien stepped forward, its voice softer, but no less commanding. You are flawed, yes? Violent, yes. But your kind holds something no other race can make, something born in your blood. Without it, the galaxy falls silent. Raylan's stomach tightened. What are you talking about? The alien reached out a long, armored hand toward the cradle's glow. Raylan noticed the faint tremor in its movement, not of weakness, but of reverence. In every human child lies the catalyst, a spark that allows species to survive extinction. We cannot make it. We can only protect it. Raylan could respond. The creature that had carried them here, the massive being outside, let out another deep, resonant sound. The chamber's crystals lit up in sequence, and a translucent map appeared in the air above them. It showed a cluster of stars, most of them dark, dead. Only a few still glowed, and those glows were fading. Raylan felt the chill in his bones. Those are the last living systems. The alien leader nodded slowly. The hunters who chased you seek to end them. Psst. They know if the catalyst dies, no species will ever be reborn. Raylan shook his head, his voice low. Why me? Why give me the child? This time, the answer came from the child itself, not in words, but in a clear, undeniable feeling. Trust, because you will not give me to them. Raylan's breath caught. That wasn't hope. That was certainty. The alien leader stepped closer. You are not the first human to carry one of our seeds, but you may be the last who can deliver it to safety. There is a place beyond the reach of the hunters where the catalyst can awaken fully. If it awakens, the galaxy has a chance. If it does not, the crystal map above them shifted, showing a single, faintly glowing point at the very edge of known space. Raylan stared at it. That's almost on the other side of the galaxy. Then, you must start now, the alien said simply. Raylan opened his mouth to reply, but the chamber's light dimmed suddenly. The aliens turned as one, their armored bodies tensing. From the far side of the vast space, the air shimmered. A dark shape emerged, black, jagged, and wrong, as if space itself was folding inward to let it through. The hunters had found them. The black shape solidified into a vessel, unlike any Raylan had seen, long needle-like, with edges so sharp. They seemed to cut the light around them. It moved without engines, gliding forward as if drawn by something inside the chamber. The aliens took defensive positions, their armor shifting into jagged, blade-like forms. But Raylan noticed something unsettling. They weren't advancing. They were holding the line, and they were afraid. A voice like cold iron filled the air, speaking not to the aliens, but directly to Raylan. "Human, step away from the child." Raylan froze. The voice wasn't shouting. It didn't need to. There was no threat in the tone, because it was certain it would get what it wanted. One of the armored guardians stepped forward, raising its weapon. "You are not welcome here, Scourge." The black ship didn't slow. "I did not come for you, Husk. I came for him." Raylan's jaw tightened. "You've got the wrong guy." "No," the voice replied. "Carry the catalyst. Hand it to us, and you will live." The child in Raylan's arms stirred, its glow pulsing sharply, as if recoiling from the sound. He felt the same raw emotion in his head as before. Not trust this time, but pure, unfiltered terror. Raylan's heart pounded. "And if I don't?" For the first time, there was a hint of amusement in the cold voice. "Then you will learn what it feels like to watch every mind you have ever known go silent." The alien leader turned to Raylan, their black glass mask reflecting his face. "They do not simply kill, they erase. Every thought, every memory, every record of a species, gone. The hunters have already ended 5 civilizations this way." Raylan's grip on the child tightened. The black ship stopped just outside the glowing chamber. The air warped again, and a figure appeared, tall, thin, and wrapped in layers of shifting black, material that seemed to drink in the light. Its face was hidden, but its eyes, burning points of pale silver, locked on the child, because, it said slowly, "If life can be reborn, we cannot win. We hunt the spark so the galaxy stays dead." The alien leader's voice cut through the cold silence. "You will not have this one." The hunter tilted its head slightly. "And we take you instead." In an instant, the black figure blurred forward, faster than Raylan's eyes could follow. The guardians moved to intercept, but the hunter slipped between them like liquid shadow, its arms stretching toward the child. Raylan didn't think. He slammed his hand down on the Wayfarer's emergency recall, the one system he'd always kept working, a last resort jump. The ship screamed as its drives overloaded, pulling them away from the chamber in a blinding flash. When the light faded, they were alone. Raylan's breath came in ragged gasps. The child looked up at him, its glow dimmed but steady. "They will follow," the voice in his head whispered. "They will never stop." Raylan leaned back in the pilot's chair, staring at the empty starfield ahead. "Then I guess we'll just have to be faster." Far behind them, in the shattered light of the chamber, the hunter watched the point of their escape vanish. Slowly, it turned back to the alien guardians. "This changes nothing," it said. "Every spark burns out. Eventually,